Hi.
Why was that the creepiest thing ever?
Wow.
Okay. Speaking of the creepiest thing ever.
Oh, yeah.
Well, not the creepiest thing, but
tell 'em.
oh my God. So we were at, not me and you, me and my whole family. We went out to lunch the other day. And when I got there, I ran into a family member who shall remain unnamed. Mm-hmm. And not ran into, like I knew I was going to see her. And so she sees me and she's like, oh, says hello, the whole thing. And then she goes, where's the baby? And she lifted up my shirt in the restaurant.
Oh my God.
Like literally. And I had like this like flowy shirt on. She like lifted it up to like try to see my belly.
No.
I was like, what are you doing? That is so not okay.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I've been feeling, I don't even want to say insecure, but like slightly insecure because I don't have like a baby belly yet, and I feel like I've been getting a lot of like judgment around it and even judging my own body a little bit in like, okay, this is definitely not what I thought pregnancy was going to look like. I had this like picture of it just being different,
Yeah.
So, and that's, we're going to talk about that a lot today.
For sure.
In this episode. But it didn't even stop there. And at the end, well, not with that same family member, but another family member at the end of our meal started poking my belly, just like poking it. And I, first of all, like I just ate.
Yeah.
And
violation.
Yeah. And, it's family. So they feel like maybe they can just touch your body without asking permission.
Yeah.
But I feel like this is something that kind of happens like to pregnant people,
Totally.
Like, people just feel like they can touch your belly.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, if this is any kind of foreshadowing of like, I cannot even imagine what would happen if a stranger touched my belly. I would go off on them.
Yeah, well, I can tell you what happened.
Oh.
Well, so like 2 weeks ago, a man that I've met one time, that sounds so weird. So I went to meet my fiance at his golf club, and one of his like golf friends was there. I met him one time, and he I didn't even know he knew I was pregnant. I guess my fiance had told him, and he just was like, oh my God, congratulations, and touched my belly. And I was like, like talk about violation.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting because then after I was feeling like, okay, I need to come up with a way. I like to be nice. So like a nice, respectful, good girl way of saying like, please, thank you so much, but please don't touch me. Like, how do you, and it's so interesting that it's like feels uncomfortable to be able to tell people that when it's your body, or maybe everyone doesn't experience that. But I know I was like, I don't like this, but I also don't feel like I can say like, please take your hand off my belly, know? So it's this weird.
I feel like I'd be like,
journey.
Did I fucking give you permission to touch my body?
Yeah.
Why are you touching my body?
Yeah.
Especially because it's our belly.
I know. It's like such a vulnerable place.
Yeah. Just because I'm growing a human in this space means that you have permission to touch me. Like that feels like you have even less permission to touch me.
No, it's
right.
It's really, I don't like it.
I don't like it.
And I know
either.
it happens to people a lot. And I also have heard people saying like people will just touch their baby. Like, I don't know, like, oh, you're so cute, and touch the baby. So we're going to see if that happens or not. I then will be like, excuse me, please do not touch my baby. Yeah. No,
I don't even like feel okay about people touching my dog.
Yeah.
And she doesn't either. She's like not really a people person. She's only like a me and my partner person
she's
or
an
dog.
Introvert?
Well, she likes other dogs a lot, but other people, she's like, don't touch me.
I love it.
She's a snob. But
yeah, it's really interesting. So we'll be filling you guys in on if we, when we have,
especially as we're like growing, I wonder, So it's funny because, I mean, for both of us, we've had like a very similar journey with food and our body image. And after having that kind of a past, I mean, like for me, I had disordered eating and body dysmorphia and all that kind of thing for probably like 10 years of my life. So luckily, having healed that before stepping into pregnancy, of course, old pieces of that came up.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you too.
Oh,
right?
yeah, for me, for sure. Yeah, I had it. It was crazy. I was journaling the other day and I was like, 20 years I had disordered eating.
Wow.
And
how are we old enough to have experienced anything for 20 years? Do you ever think that?
We're not going to tell you our age.
We're 20 and a half.
Yeah, no, I know it's crazy, and I really just had my big healing with it. I mean, it's been a journey, but like only like 6 months, 8 months ago.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, stuff still comes up for me for sure.
Yeah.
But I remember when we went to try on bathing suits in Venice.
Oh, yeah.
At this really cute bathing suit store. I forget what it was called.
Yeah.
Whatever. But anyways, it was like, one of the first moments that she was like, you have a baby bump. And I was like, no, I'm just bloated. I'm bloated. And she's like,
I was like, you are not bloated. It's a baby bump.
And I was traumatized when I was trying on bathing suits. It was just like, it was not a fun experience for me. And then I realized when I got home, like, oh my God, I have some work to do with like loving my body because I just totally detached from it today and was not nice to it, you know?
Yeah.
So it's
funny because I was looking at you thinking like, you have a baby bump. Like you're so lucky.
Yeah.
It looks like a baby bump. Whereas I feel like I'm in that in-between stage of just looking like chubby. Like I don't think anybody, especially that like didn't know me, would look at me and be like, oh, she's pregnant.
Yeah.
You know? So that's been really interesting, just like surrendering to like, this is how I look and not just wearing like baggy clothes to cover it.
Yeah.
You know, just being like, this is my body now.
Yeah, totally.
The whole journey of like the different cravings and stuff that you have.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Oh my God. Can we talk about cravings?
Yeah, let's talk about cravings.
Because that's fun before we get into like the super deep stuff. I mean, it's all fun, but.
Yeah. I'm drinking matcha right now. That's a craving.
Oh. I
love matcha.
Just finished drinking some agua fresca.
Yeah. And just to be clear, yes, matcha has caffeine in it. And I'm of the belief that I can have a little bit of caffeine here and there.
I personally was never really a caffeine drinker. Like I never drank coffee. I never had caffeinated tea or anything like that. So caffeine already affects me a lot. So I'm not drinking caffeine. Yeah. But I already wasn't, so it's not a big deal.
Own, you know?
Yeah.
It's interesting though, because some doctors will tell you can't have any caffeine. Like my stepsister's doctor told her, she's like, no. And then other doctors will say you can have 150 milligrams a day. I believe it's all about what you believe. If you believe, oh my God, I can't have caffeine, but I have to drink it, that's going to harm you.
Yeah. And, you know, we talk about this a lot, but asking our bodies and asking our babies, right? And not just being attached to like, I want this stimulus, like, let me just go for it, you know? But like really taking the time to be like, is this serving me? Or is this craving about something else?
Yeah.
So
that's an amazing thing to bring up because I noticed with my matcha that I drink it all, like I'll take 1 cup and have it throughout the day because I do notice that I'm very sensitive to caffeine. And it's had a breakthrough where I've realized like, why do I want this caffeine? And it's because at moments I want to like have enough energy to clean out my closet, you know? So there are moments I'm like, no, I don't need it today. Like,
right.
My body doesn't want to feel like, woo, all day long, you know? So that's, a great thing to.
Man, maybe I should drink caffeine.
I mean, I think I probably have like 2 or 3 matchas a week.
Yeah.
It's not like all day. But yeah.
Yeah.
What other cravings?
Oh, I was just going to say that I have like 3-hour naps every day. And like, if I don't, I feel like I can't get through the day. So maybe a little caffeine would help. Yeah. It's okay. What other cravings? Okay, well, in the first trimester, for me, it was more about the foods that I couldn't eat.
Okay.
And there were many.
Yeah.
I felt like it was so hard to eat, which I've never experienced in my life.
Yeah.
I've always been a hearty eater.
Yeah.
So it was really hard for me to like find something that I liked. And then when I did, I would eat it for like 6 meals in a row until I was disgusted by it.
Yeah.
Like, remember when I came over and I was like, I could eat a bagel. That's something I could eat right now.
Yeah.
And so we went to the bagel shop and they literally were like locking the door.
Oh my gosh.
As we got there. And I ran up and I was like, no, please, please, please. I was so dramatic.
Yeah, it was so great. It was like a telenovela. But they loved you. And they were like opening the door for her. And I was like, yeah, we're getting bagels.
I was like, we're pregnant. We have to have bagels. And they were so nice. And they ended up giving us like a dozen bagels to go.
Yeah,
remember? That was awesome.
That was so great.
But that was definitely a phase that I had where I remember I literally, because I was feeling so like I couldn't even like go drive to get bagels. I was postmating bagels. And there was one day that I did it twice in a row.
Oh, wow.
Because I was like, this is all I can imagine eating right now.
So you were not like nauseous.
I was so nauseous.
Yeah.
And it was the only thing that I felt like I could like eat and feel good about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to remember what I wanted to eat during my nausea time. For some reason, I'm having trouble recalling that. But I will say that towards the end of my first trimester, I was craving salad like all the time.
Yeah.
Do you remember?
Yeah.
And I was just loving salad, which I was like, it was funny because part of me was like, oh, this is so great. Like I'm like not going to gain a lot of weight during my pregnancy because I'm eating salad. And I thought I was going to be eating a lot of donuts.
That old mentality like creeps in of like, I mean, I had that too. There was definitely a phase where I had this one salad that I wanted just constantly. And I did that for a couple of days. Remember that?
Yeah. Apples and almond butter were a big thing for me. Like dipped in.
Yeah.
And I can't have gluten, but I sometimes like to pretend like, okay, maybe I'm over it now. So I remember when I got like saltines.
I'm not allergic to gluten anymore.
Yeah. I got saltines, but I didn't really like the aftertaste. Everyone talks about how saltines are good for nausea.
They pretended to help me with nausea.
What do you mean
by
that's
something like it felt okay in the moment because I was like, oh, I'm able to eat something. But this was something I learned from my midwife. Not right away. Of course, I wish I would have known this. And oh my God, if you're starting your first trimester, this is going to change your life. So, whoa. If you're having nausea or even before you have the nausea, eating protein every 2 hours, which sounds like what? That's like so much, especially if you're nauseous and you like don't want to eat anything.
Right.
But I can give you like some examples. So what literally saved my life was making a protein smoothie the night before. And then my partner would literally bring it to me like in bed as soon as I woke up.
That's so sweet.
Because that was like...
Did you keep it in the freezer or the fridge?
No, the fridge.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I think if you're going to make like multiple, but I would just make one the night before.
And it wouldn't melt.
I mean, it was a smoothie.
Okay.
So,
I wouldn't know. So I would put it in the freezer. So it's
good to know. And then it would be like a rock in the morning.
Yeah.
The refrigerator,
okay,
everybody.
Put the smoothie in the refrigerator. Got it.
So, because for me, it was like, I think you felt this too. Like the mornings were just like terrible.
Yeah.
And you feel so sick that like you don't want to eat. But if you can just get down a protein smoothie, and it was hard for me. It was like hard for me to get it down. But I felt so much better after that. And what I realized was like the carby stuff was not actually making me feel better. It just was like a Band-Aid. Like in the moment I felt okay.
Yeah.
But I was just having like every 2 hours, just a little bit of protein, even if it was just like a couple sips of my smoothie or a handful of nuts or a hard-boiled egg. avocado toast.
Oh, yeah.
That was one that saved my life.
Yeah.
That was all I could eat. And
Remember
eggs.
we ate a lot of
Yeah,
eggs?
it was really good with eggs.
I remember when you told me that your midwife told you that, and it changed my whole life. I was doing what you just mentioned, like every 2 hours, nuts, a hard-boiled egg.
Yeah.
What else did we have?
You know what I had a lot of was string cheese.
Oh, yeah, cheese, like little bits of cheese.
Yeah, which actually like doesn't necessarily agree with my body that much. But at the time, it was one of the things that sounded good and that I could do. So I was like, whatever, I'm going to do it.
What else? I know. I'm such a hard time remembering now.
I know. I feel like I didn't eat that whole, but I did. I was eating. Remember you were like fried rice.
Oh, no. Oh, my God. I ate a whole thing of fried rice that was a moment when I didn't listen to my body. I was just like, this is so good. And I haven't eaten a lot in so long. Yeah. And I felt so ill afterwards for like the whole night. And I haven't had fried rice since. Yeah.
I remember you told me fried rice is so good. You were like, because every day we would check in and be like, is there any food that tastes good to you? Let me try it. And so you told me fried rice. And so I ordered fried rice that day and it was so good.
Yeah.
And I ordered it again the next day and it was not good. And I felt so sick and I've never had fried rice since.
Yeah. But like, what about now? Like currently, what are the foods you're craving? Do you have any reoccurring foods? Because we're in our second trimester, just for the listeners. So.
Yeah. I think right now, because now that I'm like listening to us, we didn't have any like naughty food cravings really in the beginning, other than like 12 bagels in one day. But now I'm having a lot of like sugar cravings. And I'm like, you're all, do you want a mango? I'm like, no, girl, I want gummy bears. That's the kind of cravings that I'm having right now. Trying to think what else. What are you craving right now?
I'm actually craving a lot of blackberries and raspberries and oatmeal. Like every morning, I was having scrambled eggs with toast, gluten-free toast. Now I have gluten-free, for all my gluten-freers out there, I got to mention gluten-free oatmeal with like chia seeds, hemp seeds, but don't put too many because you'll be super sick. That was a lesson I learned.
But that's because you put like an entire bag of hemp seeds.
So like a fourth a cup. She's like, Alyssa told me, no, that is way too much. So like a tablespoon I put.
Yeah, that's probably good.
But I'm also craving sugar. And it's been an interesting journey for me because for so long, for like a year and a half, I had candida. And so I really developed like a huge fear around sugar. Yeah. Which I've cleansed my candida and cleansed my fear of sugar, but it still will creep back in while I'll have these feelings of like, oh, I'm really craving a donut, but should I have that sugar? What if I get gestational diabetes? Like the fear, like the and then I'll really
I've definitely had that fear come up too. Yeah. So. And I'm like, okay, I need to just like allow myself to give in and enjoy the cravings, but not to let them like rule me,
Right. Yeah. I think that's the balance, right? Like totally. It's like, and like enjoy them and then not let them totally take you over. Yeah. And the fact that I can, but I just have to say this. It's a celebration.
Say it, girl.
The fact that I can go to a donut store and have one gluten-free donut and just enjoy the F out of it and not go back in and get like 2 or 3 more and shove them down is a freaking huge celebration.
Yeah. That is huge. Yeah. And I know because, I haven't had any donuts yet since being pregnant, which I'm so surprised because I've been wanting them, but it just... When it comes down to it, I'm like, I don't really want it anymore. But the other day, I realized this because I bought some candies, like those gummy candies. And usually what would happen is, like, if I have a bag of them, I'll eat the whole bag. Mm-hmm. Like, this was like in my past when I just would like binge on them. And I could never like leave leftovers for the next day.
Right. Oh my God. And what is leftovers?
A couple days. Like how do you make a bag of candy last for like days? Well, this bag of candy lasted for days. And I would just have like little bits. And it was like, that's such a huge breakthrough.
That's when you know that your past with the eating has like really like elevated, right?
And not even just the gummies. This was another huge one. Tortillas. That used to be a huge binge food for me.
Tortillas or tortilla chips?
Nope, just like literally tortillas.
Okay.
I would like eat them out of the refrigerator, not even warm them up. I would just eat them cold.
Yeah.
And I'd eat a whole bag like in one sitting. Well, I would like keep getting up and going back to the refrigerator. And yeah, I've had a bag of tortillas in my refrigerator for like over a week. Like I don't even know if they're good still, you know. It's been like probably weeks.
That's amazing. That's really incredible.
And it's like, wow, that's so
huge
cool.
Breakthroughs for us.
Yeah.
Wait, I want to tell one more. I got
all the breakthroughs.
Yay! I got Haagen-Dazs ice cream bars the other night. I wanted one. And I went to the store and they only had sold packs of 3. And I had this moment where I was like, oh, I can't do that because I'll eat all 3. And then I was like, no, hold on. Like I trust myself around ice cream bars and food. So I got them and I had one and there's still some in my freezer. My fiance had one the next night and there's still one. And
oh my God, who wants it? Who wants the ice cream bar?
And this might sound silly to some of you, but these are huge breakthroughs.
And if you've ever struggled with disordered
binging,
eating,
I mean, you get it.
Yeah, you know.
So let's high five. Yeah! That's awesome. We rock for those.
That is really awesome, especially while being pregnant, because I feel like there's this stigma around it where it's like, eat anything you want.
Right.
Well, there's like 2 sides of it, right?
Right.
The side that's like, eat whatever you want, go crazy, you know, eat a bunch of junk food. And then the other side that's like, don't eat anything bad or else you're going to ruin your child.
Right.
You know?
Well, remember you said you found a midwife that she would only consider taking you on as a client if you cut all sugar out of your diet and walked, was it 5 miles a day? Like what? So you just quit your job and like walk all day? Like what? I mean, I get exercising like modestly, but like that's a little,
that's a lot.
I mean, to each their own. But there's so much fear around.
Right.
It's like that was
the other midwife that I considered going with. She wanted you to consume 100 grams of protein a day.
How?
Which, with her, I started to look into all this nutrition stuff. And, you know, I studied holistic nutrition, so I'm very aware of it.
Right.
But the way that I live and the way that I eat is much more intuitive and listening to my body. And, you know, even with these cravings, not just giving into cravings, but seeing like, is this something deeper? Mm-hmm. Or is this something that I can indulge and have fun with? And not let it like take me over. Mm-hmm. But with this one midwife, and I understand where she's coming from. It's all very science-based. But of course, you know, we're woo-woo.
What's science?
What's science? No, she was very strict about nutrition. And like I said, I see how that's super beneficial.
Yeah.
And it's amazing for preventing a lot of things, for helping you have a healthy pregnancy and easy labor, all of that.
Yeah.
But what I started to fall into was this fear and guilt around, oh my God, did I get enough protein today? Oh my God, if I didn't, like, I'm doing something bad to my baby. Oh my God, if I eat this, it's bad. If I don't have this today, it's bad.
Yeah.
You know, and I started to almost like demonize food again in a different way than before. Mm-hmm. To where that alone, that energy is just as unhealthy as eating something that's quote unquote unhealthy.
Yeah, so true, because it's like feeding our body and our baby's fear, right?
Yeah.
That's interesting because I remember I listened to one of the midwives that you were possibly going to go with's podcast, and it was so informational and so beautiful. I mean, of course we respect science, but also I started to really go into more of a fear around getting enough iron, because there was this whole section about like how easy it would be to become anemic, and if that happens, like all this bad stuff could happen, and you basically could have a C-section and all these things.
Fear.
We're
be
not
scared.
And then the other day, my fiance was like, "Oh, I checked your labs, and your whatever for anemic is pretty like it's low." And I was like, "You mean I freaked out." I was like, "What do you mean I'm anemic? That's not good. I can't have like." I went into like this crazy thing. He's like, "No, you're not anemic, babe. It's just I'm just letting you know it's like on the lower end, but it's normal. You're young, like you're thin, you know." But I did go like it's it's so powerful and interesting to notice how the fear is just like likes to creep up in there, and then you just like pet it like a little kitty cat and have it go back in its cave.
Right. Even though it feels more like a lion than a kitty cat.
I wish it felt like a little kitten.
Yeah.
Like, hey. Yeah, but it's really interesting. Those dynamics around nutrition, pregnancy, and like the fear of it, and just I think trying to have a healthy balance, right, is what that's what I'm committed to.
So how do we? Yeah, I mean, like I guess that's something that I've been working with is like creating that healthy balance, because that's kind of where I got to on my own, like before becoming pregnant.
Yeah.
Of how do I create this healthy balance between, you know, eating healthy foods, intuitively listening to my body, but also having pizza if I want it every once in a while and not demonizing that, you know, having a little sweet or a treat or, you know.
Yeah. A hamburguesa.
Una hamburguesa con papas fritas.
Sí, sí.
And so I think it's like when you're growing a baby, there's just this added pressure, but things don't really have to change if you're really listening to your body and giving it what it needs, rather than just these like surface level cravings, right?
Right. And I know we talked about this too. It's just an interesting thing to put in, but you know, not everyone around the world has the luxury of, you know, asking themselves what they'd like to eat that day. You know, some people have like rice and beans and that's their meal, and their babies come out and they're healthy and they're great and they're fine. So
which actually beans are like a pregnancy superfood.
Yeah, totally. But, you know what I mean?
I totally know what you mean. Yeah.
So we had that conversation actually where we were like, whoa, hold up here. Like we're in this fear about protein.
Because we were stressing out. We were stressing out. I was like, how am I going to get 100 grams of protein? Like I feel like I have to eat like The Rock, you know?
So it's a good reminder that like our bodies have the nutrition in them to feed the baby. And like, if we, like you said, just to reiterate on what Alyssa said, like, to recognize that if you are living in fear and still eating a ton of protein, it's just as worse as not having any protein or not having like a ton of protein and being like in a blissful place because you had 3 meals that day.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's a good thing to just like look at.
It's not just, I think it's like important to remember that nutrition is not just about the food you eat, but it's also the energy that you consume and your emotions and your stress levels and your hormones, which are obviously influenced by your stress and by your anxieties and stuff. So remembering that those things are just as important. So
it's so true. Like the energy, I mean, obviously we both believe everything is energy, but the energy and emotions. I remember when I used to like, even if it was something small, like I'd eat a burrito, but I feel so guilty because this was before I did the healing around food, just to be clear. Because I didn't want to have carbs that day. And I was in that space of like angst and like feeling guilty. I would get so bloated afterwards.
Right.
Just like 9 months pregnant bloated, you know, but now I just ate a burrito. It was so freaking good. And I
love burritos
because I was like, this is so delicious.
Because of course, if you think about it, if you have this like resistance and guilt around the food that you're eating, it's like there's part of your body that's shutting down to it. You know, your body's like, no. And you're like, well, I'm going to eat it anyway. So like there's this weird reaction that happens. Of course, you're not going to have optimal digestion and like it's going to get you bloated. It's not going to be processed correctly. It's not going to extract the nutrients that it could. Whereas if you're eating a donut and you love it and you send it good energy and you feel really good about it and you feel really guilt-free about it.
Which I did today.
Okay. Your body's going to even get nutrients from that. It's going to process it easy. It's going to move through easily and it's not going to give you all of these effects. So it's important. The energy is the most important to me.
To me too.
I really feel like it's the most important thing. You know, you can be conscious and aware of this stuff, but if it starts to spin you into fear, then it's not worth it.
Yeah, totally. No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it time
It's
for
time
Pixie dance?
for sprinkle, sprinkle, sprinkle on you.
So, for today's Pixie dust segment,
We've had a bit of like talk about cravings and what's behind them is really, really important. Do you want to share more about that?
Yeah. Yes, I do.
Okay.
It's my favorite thing to
It's
talk
her
about.
favorite. So
I have a couple favorite
passing
things to
it
talk
off.
about. So, with cravings, there's a couple of things to look at, right? So we can have what I kind of break down into like 3 different kinds of cravings. We can have a mental craving, emotional craving, or a true like physical craving, right? So a lot of times we are having these mental and emotional cravings and we let them overwhelm us, right? Very seldomly are we having like a physical craving that we just, our body is actually telling us what it wants, because few of us are living in our bodies. We're living in our heads or overwhelmed by emotion, right? So a mental craving, as an example, it's when you think you want something, right? So let me break it down a little more. If you have sweets every day at 3:00 or caffeine at 3:00, I think a lot of people have that like that afternoon, what do they call it? Hunch? Slump?
Oh, slump. Yeah, afternoon slump.
Hunch.
Hunchback.
The afternoon slump, and they look for something to pick them up, right? So, I mean, that's kind of a combination of a physical craving. They want to have that like pick me up kind of feeling. But if you start to get in the habit of that, then every day at 3:00, you're going to have this craving.
Right.
Whether or not you really need it or even want it, right? It's like this mental thing that's kind of been like programmed into you. Same thing with like seeing an advertisement or somebody, maybe us talking about donuts right now made you think, ooh, donuts. But maybe you don't even really want a donut. We just make them sound so delicious that you're craving one now, If so, sorry, but here's some tips for you. So that's kind of an example of a mental craving, right?
Right.
So an emotional craving is when you want food. A lot of times it's sweets or something grounding, like something heavy, or even something that holds. Well, I guess if it's something that holds like a fond memory, that's more of a mental craving, actually. Forgot to mention that.
Okay.
So maybe something from childhood or something along those lines. That's more of a mental craving. Could be a little combination.
Yeah, sometimes they are, right?
The lines are blurred here.
Yeah.
So the emotional craving is when you're feeling some kind of way, maybe not so great, and you're looking to change how you feel.
Yeah.
And so you're reaching for something else to make you feel that way rather than doing the inner work to really accept, radically accept how you're feeling and then move on from that.
Yeah.
Right? Or move through it or just feel it.
Yeah.
Right?
And that's probably, sorry to interrupt, that's probably where most binging comes from, right?
Yes.
The emotional cravings.
Yeah. Yes. It's like trying to either cover something up. You want to kind of mask how you're really feeling, which is why people will eat, I say people like myself included in the past, like will literally eat to the point of feeling sick.
Right, yeah.
Because they're just trying to drown this other thing out.
Yeah.
Right?
I know that very well.
Yeah. So, of course, there's variations of all of these. These are just kind of some of the like main examples.
Okay.
And then the physical craving, right? Which is when your body's truly hungry.
Yeah.
Right? So that's like the first step is recognizing if your body is truly hungry or not. And asking your body what it really wants, right? So the more and more we learn how to tune into our bodies and our intuition, the more we're able to actually hear our body asking for certain things.
Yeah.
Right? So because I was a vegetarian for 10 years, and when I started to have the craving for meat, well, it was a very scary thing for me because I was like, I don't want it,
Yeah.
But my body was very clear about it needing these nutrients and needing to get it from this certain source.
Yeah.
And I resisted it for a long time. But once I decided, okay, I'm going to do this, I got so much backlash, especially on social media, from people and that saying that like, oh, this is just a craving. This is just a da-da-da-da. And I was like, I mean, you can say what you want to, but I know the difference.
Yeah, you're like, sorry, but you're not in my body.
Yeah.
You have been practicing what I practice.
Yeah. And it's a very clear difference of my body needs this versus, ooh, I want this. It sounds tasty.
Yeah.
Right?
I totally know that feeling too, because I had the same exact thing.
Yeah.
I was vegetarian for I don't know how many years, but at least 10. And then I started craving bacon. I was actually living in China at the time, I started craving bacon. At the time, I was so like anemic and like just sick. I was not well with my food. Yeah. And my body really needed whatever was in meat and whatever was in bacon. And I remember like I started eating meat in China.
Wow.
which was interesting.
Wow.
But yeah. So
you're like, what am I eating?
Exactly. I know what that feels like. Yeah. Yeah, your body knows, your body tells you what it wants.
Yeah. So the more you practice tuning into these different areas, and I have this exercise that I teach like all my clients and that's in my courses and everything called Head, Heart, Belly.
Yeah.
And so this is what I want to invite you guys into is using this practice before your meals. Whether or not you have any past with disordered eating or cravings, it's just such a beautiful way to get deeper in tune with your body and with your intuition. So it's really easy exercise. I'll just quickly kind of sum it up for you.
Yay.
So you start with your head.
Yep.
And you check in with your thoughts. You check in with your mind. So you kind of ask yourself, where's my head at right now? You know, am I living in the past, worrying about things that happened, replaying old scenarios? Am I projecting into the future, stressing about, you know, what's to come, what I need to get done, da-da-da-da-da? Or am I like truly in the present, right? Just by asking yourself that, you tune in more to the present moment, right? And just seeing what the quality of your thoughts is and what your thoughts are about the food you're about to consume, right? Like we talked about, like if you have this resistance to it, if you're judging it, your body's going to react differently to that, right? Sure. So just kind of giving yourself a little scan, like what's going on in my head? What am I thinking about? How can I become more present and more positive about this experience, right? And then dropping down into your heart. I love to just like put my hand on my heart. Doesn't that feel nice?
Yes.
Do it with us, okay?
Yeah.
So just placing your hand on your heart and really asking, how do I feel? Like just asking yourself how you feel. I mean, how often do you ask yourself that throughout the day? Right? So tuning into your emotions and just being willing to hear what comes up and asking yourself, like, am I just eating to feel differently? Right? And the information that can come from this is like, this is where the deep work happens just by doing these check-ins.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
And then dropping down into your belly. If you have a baby belly or not, you can just rub it because it's fun. I feel like I've always like been the kind of person that just like rubs my belly even before I was pregnant. So then just dropping into your belly and asking yourself, like, what am I truly hungry for? And you might get an answer that has to do with like a food, or you might get another answer. Yeah. Because in your belly is your womb space, which is like, it's like your intuitive center. Yeah. Again, whether or not you're pregnant, you have access to that intuition through that. So a lot of times you're going to receive another answer, right? That might be beyond food. It might be, I need love right now, or I'm hungry for grounding. Yeah. You know, there's so many things that could come up. So just allowing yourself to kind of be open to that. Yeah. Yeah. It's
so powerful, you guys. You have to try it. Yeah. And then just to give you like two little tippity top tops. I think I just want to share with them like, well, okay. So, for me, I know just to give, if you've never done this before, just to give you like a little hint, we already kind of talked about it a bit, but I know I've discovered through doing the work that I crave sugar when I need to experience like loving myself more. When I feel like I've been like vulnerable and maybe I'm just like in this space where I need to really give myself love. It's an emotional hunger almost 100% of the time, not a physical one. And it's because my body's like asking me to take a bath or, you know, like go to a restorative yoga class, like nurture myself more. And then the second thing is I noticed that I have a pattern where I'll overeat at social events. Yeah. And it's because I need to stay grounded. Like my body's asking me to like stay grounded because I feel very, again, vulnerable and open. You know, there's people around. So you're like, what are they thinking of me? You know, especially family stuff. Like, yes. So I'll totally overeat at family stuff. And I've really realized after like journaling through it and really tuning in that, oh, okay, I just need to take deep breaths. I just need to like stay grounded and be over there with people versus like in my head about what I look like or do they think this about me and blah, blah, blah. So that might help some of you that maybe need a couple more examples. Do you have anything?
Yeah. Well, okay, even just on, you know, piggybacking on yours, for me, sugar is more often than not kind of like a call to either tune into my inner child, like there's some inner child healing that wants to be done. Yeah. And a lot of times what that is to play more. Oh. Right? So it's like almost my way of seeking out something fun and exciting. Oh. And especially to remind myself to give my inner child attention and give her something fun and exciting. Yeah. Because, you know, if you think about it, like that's what a lot of us are given as something that's fun and exciting when we're, when we're, treat, right? Yeah, it's a treat.
If you're good, you have a treat.
Yeah. So, you know, again, there's nothing wrong with having a treat now and then, but are you actually giving yourself that like love and appreciation and play in other areas of your life, or are you relying on sweets to do that for you? Yeah. Right. So again, you know, it could be totally different for you. It's your exercise to tune in with your intuition, but I think that these are probably common for people.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah. But let us know.
Yeah, let us know.
Put it in the comments. Let us know what you're discovering for yourself, or maybe you already know. Like this amazing video, or if you're listening to the podcast, like us and review us, and follow us on Instagram. Yeah. Woo, woo. Woo, woo. Oh my gosh, thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah, this was super fun. Have a beautiful day, babes.
Bye.
Bye. Peace.